Come scrapping with me in my neighborhood. I personally really love going scrapping. I have a few other videos from like 6 years ago and also from a few months ago if you want to watch more videos of me scrapping. And if you don't know what scrapping is, it's basically a way to go around and get scrap metal and other pieces of discarded trash from folks who have thrown things out. A lot of times these items are still perfectly fine to be used and reused. It's just they need to be shown a little bit of love, which is totally understandable and totally normal. You can clean all this stuff up and you can definitely reuse it if you want. There are a lot of different items that do get thrown out. You can see that there's baby toys, cloth items, decor items, lamps, all sorts of things. I normally don't take any of the cloth items or baby toys. I just don't need that stuff. Normally, I take like scrap metal and stuff. Scrap metal varies in the amount of prices that it can be because the scrap prices are very volatile. It depends heavily on the economy. In general, though, you can totally get about 5 cents on a good year or good month rather for like normal scrap, which is like iron and cheap metals like that. For copper wiring and stuff, you can get like 30 cents or more depending on what grade the copper wire is. And then it varies based off of that. Stainless steel, copper, cans, aluminum, all sorts of things can be sold for scrap yards and scrap metal in general. And it's a really good way to make a little bit of extra cash on the side. My mom does it as a hobby, and I accompany her. I really like just hanging out with her. We go around my neighborhood, and there's a few different neighborhoods we go around and grab the stuff from. And most of the time, we do focus on things like copper wires and like the lighter items that are going to be priced better per pound. A great thing about scrapping is that you can totally find a bunch of really cool items too. I have found so many different like suitcases, furniture, decor. I even actually found a wooden chair one time, which was really, really nice because I still have it in my parents' house in like my room and I still use it to this day. It literally just needed a fresh coat of paint and obviously it needed to be desanitized and stuff, but it was totally functional still, and that's what I really, really like about scrapping. You can see here that there's a whole bunch of different items on the ground, and you can kind of determine what you want from that. I was looking at these three kind of decorative pillar things. I'm not sure what they're actually called, but when I opened them up, they were made out of wood, so we didn't actually take them because they aren't worth anything. And then I kind of you kind of heavily depend on what there is. A lot of this stuff is plastic, like for example, that blind was actually made out of plastic, and you don't want to take anything that you can't actually sell off to a scrapyard or you can't reuse. I have seen so many different items like this where people have bought so many different things. And one thing that I will say is that a lot of people do tend to put their old items inside of boxes and stuff. So if you ever encounter a box or anything, feel free to take just like a functional look into the box and see if there's actually anything in there. This time of year is also fantastic for selling off different kinds of like Christmas decor that people have thrown out. They throw out so many different things. I found like 3 different Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer statues. And then this is obviously a snowman that people have taken too, and this is just the rest of the reindeer. I always think that it's so funny that whenever I see these things, because it's like I think that most of them are still usable, people just didn't want to actually keep it, which to me is so like, I don't know, it's kind of astonishing that you'd rather just throw it out than keep it in your garage, but I guess it makes sense. And then there are always going to be trees around this year. I have seen, I don't know, over 20 different trees in like the past few months just being thrown out, and a lot of them still have lights and stuff. It is kind of a chore to get the lights off of the tree though, so if you do decide to do that, just a word to the wise, it's going to be a little bit of effort. I also found these 2 pressure cookers. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be reusing the pressure cookers, but if you were to want to reuse them, you totally could. Just need to like sanitize them, bleach bleach it a few times, clean it with soap, maybe leave it out in the sun. The sun is a great way to desanitize your items and make sure that they like get rid of all that bacteria or whatever it might be. But those are great items for scrapping. And pressure cookers are oftentimes made up of like aluminum or something. And then I found this. It was very heavy. I have no idea what it is. Let me know in the comments if you know what it is, because I have no idea. It's extremely heavy though. It had a little bit of wire. I don't know what kind of metal it is. I didn't bring my magnet with me. That was definitely a bad decision on my part, because most of the time you do want to take a magnet or something so that you can determine if something is just iron, which is a low cost item, or if something is made up of something that isn't magnetic, like stainless steel. I think that actually might be magnetic, or aluminum, copper, something that isn't magnetic, bronze, brass. Vacuum cleaners are another really great item to scrap because they each produce about a pound in wiring, which a pound of copper is really, really good. Unfortunately, there are always duds like this. You can see that they have a ton of different things, but nothing actually stands out because they didn't have anything pretty valuable. It was just kind of household items. But then you get amazing finds like this, which this was entirely just wiring, which is fantastic because it's all copper, which is amazing. I really, really love seeing finds like this because finds like this means that you can definitely at least get something out of it. This, if I had to estimate, is like at least 3 pounds of wiring, possibly more. You do have to strip the wires, so that is a process in itself. Obviously, it does take a little bit of effort to strip out a wire, but it is well worth your time. Or if you just want to reuse that stuff, it's also well worth your time because I almost can guarantee you that that works. It's just somebody didn't want to store it, or they're moving, or whatever it might be, and that's why they threw it out. I found so many different working items while I was scrapping in the past that I just know off the top of my head that you will find something like that. We found even more wiring from like a fridge. This was from a fridge that I was trying to cut. It was a hard time for me to try to cut it because wiring is pretty tough. That is all for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe for more, and let me know if you go scrapping because it's so much fun and I encourage everyone. Bye!